So I'm going to take it around this side of the H right here. See? So it's on that side. Now I'm actually going to cinch it down and do a wrap over here and come over and repeat the process with this H. So now I've used the H, and that creates a lot of tension right there. It crosses it up. You feel it getting tighter right there? It's tight. And now I'm going to wrap it over the edges first, and then over the H, where that H, that plastic piece, is actually helping to push down and cause pressure. And then finish up over that edge. So covering that H right there, that piece of plastic, is what you want directly over the wound, the point of the wound right there, the worst part of it. Side the wound, so my white side's going down, my pad, and I do this a little bit different. With two hands, in a perfect world, I'm going to go around the sides of this one first. So that it's not going to shift when I crank it down. I'm just going to go in here, I'm going to keep it wide, and now I'm cranking that down. And it actually completely turns over. I'm going back over the top to increase that pressure from that plastic piece. And this one actually has two clips, or a single clip, but and it's got hooks on each side. They've got little teeth on there. And almost the way you do that TK4 tourniquet, you go in there, you find a piece. It doesn't have to be on the same level at all, but the teeth don't move, they don't drag, they actually cut into that basically. So when they hold, big fan of these. You know, you can typically fit more of them inside and keep packing it. I mean, this is something that's, I mean, that was up and down right there, so that'd be, you know, diameter of the thigh easy. On a person, typically, there's resistance. You know, their movement, their leg, their weight is holding it down. But there's a lot to keep going here. And that's just this one side. This would just be the exit from what Tim was saying. And just the exit, and we didn't get up, you know, the other 6 inches worth, and that's almost that roll. There's, you know, a bit left. We were to go in from what that entrance was. It's taken that and more. We could put a whole lot more because it avulsed when it went in. So that I can get 2 fingers in there, all that, without tearing. So I mean, could easily take all that out. I mean, and look, this is simple right here. This isn't even bloody. This isn't actively bleeding because it's not live tissue perfusion. But just right there, in that entrance, there's a whole roll of gauze. And now, since we pulled it out of that exit wound, there's still another 6 inches of channel right there. I mean, you'll see how wide that is. So easy that one pack of gauze isn't enough. But see that just deep packing it in there is where you're going to get these fibers in there so that the arterioles and the venules can clot against it. It's going to give it something to build against. You can probably put it on hold. Bottom pieces. This will actually stick into something. It's better like with a knife wound, something up top. But in a minute, we'll see that that's almost fused in. That the properties and stuff have turned it into a glue in there. I'll try and pull on it in a minute and you'll actually see where it works. But it works on the moisture. If he's got a knife, they don't mind messing up on it. Not too, not much force, just in it right there. That took a good bit of that roll in there. And that was just simple. There was no turning, no twisting, wasn't many pounds of pressure, but went in good and clean. So think about it. Instead of cutting this off here, we've got it in there. We've now got something for it to clot against, for the blood in there. Now guess what? We've got our what? Our pressure. So we've got a piece to add pressure. Now comes in that Israeli bandage. Now comes that H bandage, and you've added that ball right there to increase that pressure on that spot and keep that gauze in place in there around those arterioles, around the venules, and so the clotting can take place. And so now you put that compression bandage over the top of it. You had something though, like your combat gauze, would work well. Somebody grab a bottle of water. Can y'all hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the water right there? Oh, you see it?
Wow. Cool.
It's exothermic reaction. Now you hear it?
Yeah.
That sounds painful. Sounds like the volcanoes you made in school.
Yeah.
So the problem with this powder is, if you think about it in any typical kind of setting where there's not a perfect HVAC system or anything in place, you're talking chopper blades, you're talking the side of the United States, you're talking anything, you're talking wind blowing stuff. And what has moisture all the time? Your eyes. Do you think with what just happened there, you want that to happen to your eyes? No, because then you're out of the fight. You're gone. You can't do anything, can't render any aid. But think about if you had something that had this built in it, and now you can get that in there. Like, you actually feel this is warm. This meat is warm now. But think about actually getting those clotting properties, that hemorrhagic clotting agent, in there directly to the arterioles, to the venules. Now, don't you think that that's like the biggest showstopper you can bring? That's that big boy right there. Instead of just carrying that H&H line stuff, if you carry a pocket kit, carry something like this combat gauze right here. Look at that. No different. Doesn't look any different than your other gauze.
Is that the same as the quick clot sort gauze?
Yeah, as far as the gauze goes, it is, yes. Now the sponges, are slightly different. But look, so it's just the same as that gauze. You do the same thing, the same packing that you would be doing with your normal gauze, except this is impregnated with that hemorrhagic clotting agent. So now you're getting it closer to the area that you need to actually stop that bleed. So you keep packing this wound and keep packing every bit of it in there. I mean, it's there's the negatives, to the powders, why they've changed it, pulled it from the market. Quick Clot had it, Celox had it, and now they've either gone to the sponge packets or impregnating a gauze with it. Or you can still get Celox injectable and a few others. It's not like injectable like IV or IM, but it's just a tube with it, and it's a liquid form. You'd stick the point of the end of it like in where the wound is and actually push it in there.
Now, with a sponge, wouldn't packing a wound like this or just a single knife wound be very difficult as compared to just packing the gauze gun?
Yeah, the sponge would be, because that's what I'm saying. The sponges, have the 25-gram size, 50, 75, and 100s. So if all you had was 100-gram sponges, it's not going to do you that well with something that diameter.
You get that on top and then put the bandage over it. I guess if you pack some in there, correct?
Well, then think about it. It'd be, stopping the bleeding at the top, yet there's still a big void below it that's now filling with blood. You're not doing anything to create clotting in there. That's like it eventually stopping on its own, basically.
So would the 25-gram sponges be better and just shove the sponges into the wound
Well,
and then...
if you're carrying minimal stuff and working out of a kit, out of a VOC, out of a blowout kit small, why not have something that serves multi-purpose here,
Right.
like this gauze, and just carry it? You know, and we're doing this slow here as we're speaking, but you know it can go a lot faster. But you keep pushing it in, and further as it works, it's going to be starting those clots. That wound right there took that entire roll of combat gauze. And so now what I'd want to do, if I had another H&H gauze, you know, if I pulled one out of the pack, I'd put it over the top of it for that pressure. Now I'm going to put my Israeli bandage on there, or my H&H, or cinch tight, or any of those trauma bandages that have that elastic on them that cinch down to make that true pressure dressing. So I've got something in there, deep packed, that's close to the venules, close to the arterials, that's going to help with that clotting right there. And this actually has that clotting agent on it. It's got that hemorrhagic property. Then I've put an added piece of gauze or something, a roll of socks, anything you've got there, something that's, you know, still in the package even. It doesn't have to be removed, but just to add that pressure on it and keep that compression in there. And now I'm going to put that trauma dressing on it, that pressure bandage. And that right there, that trifecta, that deep packing, that direct pressure, and then that added bandage over it to keep it from moving, to keep it in place, is going to keep that pressure consistent right there. And that's what's going to help stop that bleeding to the best of the ability. But, I mean, you know, there's so much different stuff on the market. But, I mean, as I see, you know, the flesh, it tears easy, but when there's moisture, it reacts. With blood and stuff, it's great. Y'all saw it in the water over here, and it reacts. But I mean, this is what that's doing. It's making a reaction there. But you know, we talk about that packing, and you think about saying, you know, it could be a mass casualty for you because you've now expended all your supplies. If all you have is that one H&H gauze, and you're not going through the thought process of pulling off a sock, of using their shirt, of using leaves, of using anything available in that environment, you're now overwhelmed. You know, that's why the value of you being calm and you talking to them, or talking to yourself and say, hey, I need to pack this more. I need to find something. Oh, he's got socks, he's got a jacket, I just exposed this wound, I just ripped his shirt off. Man, I can use some of that shirt, cut it down with my knife, put it on there, use the rest of it, make a pressure bandage. You know, it's on you to not get overwhelmed, you know, due to your lack of resources or lack of supplies. It's finding what you have available. So, I mean, that's how important and how much it takes to actually stop, you know, good bleeding in a good-sized piece of meat right there. That is, you know, good size to somebody's thigh inhalation, or a big enough guy's arm, bicep. Like I said, the pork has more fat in it, so it's a bit softer. But, you know, what that bullet does to make that traumatic cavity right there, just from the velocity, it's going to be the same with any piece of meat. It just opens up right there with the expansion. It just goes. We saw how, you know, how big the entrance and exit one was, but the channel, that wound path in there was just so much larger diameter.
It'd be worse if it's high velocity too.
A rifle, anything like that, yeah, AK, AR rounds, anything like that, coming at that velocity, it'd be a lot more. And then depending if it was a boat-tailed round, you know, like we talked about yesterday, what it would do in changing its flight path once it meets resistance versus what these handgun rounds were. Tim, what was his, 9 mil?
That's what he said.
Okay. Tim said it was 9 mil. The one that was marked in red, he did with a hollow point, which is just so soft right here, and at that distance, it probably didn't hit anything enough for that hollow point to, you know, exhibit its characteristics, you know. So, I mean, it acted like an FMJ round. And the others were FMJ rounds, all 9 mil though. And so as we look at Mr. Skeleton Bones guy over here, we know that underneath the ribs, you know, over it's going to be muscle tissue, as you see on the left side. The right shows the ribs, and under those ribs, there's, you know, there's veins that run under them and nerve bundles, but they're close together. These are beef ribs. The pork ribs we use a lot of times, though, they've got a thicker layer of cartilage. These are meatier. This is probably more. This is probably similar, you know, in this stage, the human though. I mean, it's a good sized bone in there, and you can actually see these pretty good. These aren't covered up by any skin or anything. In a lot of places it'll do like a pork side with the skin still on, and that's kind of different because most pork skin and the fat that's under is like right at an inch thick and extremely hard. But if you're to think about this, you've got your balloon, it's a little tight, But so we could count that back. Clavicle up here, so 1 and 2, and this would be what? This would be 3. So if this person had this right here, let's say this is a tension pneumo right here. It's just full of air and it's not releasing. It's blown out. It's all pushed up to one side. He's kind of posturing to the other side. The trachea is moving towards it. His neck veins might be a bit distended, blown out, because it's been a while now. He's only been getting that air from one side. So you're going to count those spots down. 1, 2, 3, right there. And you can go over the top. You got your needle, your dart. This one has a catheter on it, just remember that. And hold it. And look, my hands are already, I'm in gloves already, and mine already have what would be like blood or meat on them. And this is, this is moist. So, I mean, this is, realistic to that concept. So you'd be going over the top and into it, but that was a little full of balloon. But you'd be going over the top. And, I mean, you feel a pressure as you go in right there, and that lung would have been basically the balloon. It wouldn't have blown back, but it would have released out. And it'll still do it, and hopefully there's a little meat. Yeah, look down into that hole. You see it? Isn't it full? You can actually see it just going through there, that thin bit, without skin, without something really thick, just little muscle tissue, that's full. So, I mean, thinking of trying to, exhale or inhale or breathe through that, it's not going to work too well. But the catheter is still clean, right? All the way through, because the needle protected it. So it's in place. So now that gives you ability for that, either that lung to either bring the air back in or let air out, depending what it needs to do. So we saw what the really full balloons do. Yeah, so that works good. Y'all saw that he put, because there's skin or there's something in that hole, but there's massive trauma right there. The pinky is an incredible decompression tool. It will go right through a 9mm hole. It'll go through a 7.62 hole, anything like that. A finger. Now, keep in mind this right here. If you're wearing gloves and you stick your finger through something that has shattered bone in it, you will tear your gloves. It is not a practice I would recommend doing on any person you don't know. This is your family member, this is your teammate.
Yep. You guys ready?
Yep.
Yeah, but most of the time,
Level to the septum, feel resistance, slight turn, and it's in there. You good? Breathe out of your nose. It's not moving, so there's no need to tape it at the moment. All right, you good? We're gonna give you whiskey through that. I'm gonna pull it out, all right? All right, brother.
What's going on? I'm looking right now. I don't see anything. I don't see a pile of blood. I don't see anything going on right now. So while I'm over here, I'm looking. I can feel. I see some equal rising